Hey, yo, what's up, guys? So I know it's a little bit late at the moment. It's about 12:30, so just after midnight my time. But I wanted to share this because I feel like this is a teaching moment, and especially with with the way that the world's going these days. Like mainstream media and social media is pushing these agendas. Um, this needs to get said. So about 10 minutes ago, I got woken up. I was just settling down. I had a bit of a late night, just kind of hanging around watching movies, and I was just settling down. There we go, poor connection. I'm back. I got woken up and I could hear this vehicle come in. And it sounded like a heavier vehicle, and I could see the light from the headlights. And my initial thought was like, man, we're getting robbed. So I quickly threw on some clothes. Decided not to fight the robbers naked this time. And I headed out to the window and snuck a peek out the window. And I was actually quite surprised because it wasn't robbers, it was the police. And I was like, man, what the heck is the police doing out like in my compound? Like I live in a quiet neighborhood. I was like, what are they doing out here? It's like, it's after midnight. And so I went outside and walked over and had a chat to them. And I was happy and smiley and the usual stuff you want to do with a police officer, because let's face it, it's the minority of police officers that are terrible. And I've dealt with bad police officers, I've dealt with good police officers. And it's very easy to just assume the last police officer was a schmuck. All police officers, they're pigs. It's not the case. Especially in this day and age when everything's filmed. They got body cams, they got car cams. They know that everything they do is being filmed, is being witnessed. The majority of police officers do the right thing. So I went over and I was friendly. I walked over and said, "Hi, how you going?" And this police officer was like, "Hey, we're looking for Jason." I was like, "Who?" He's like, "I don't know all my neighbors, but I don't know who Jason is. I'm really sorry." And they looked from me and they looked at my unit, like my apartment, or townhouse. They looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, like, they think like Jason lives here. And they were like, what's your name? And I told them my name, and they were like, well, who lives there? I was like, me. And they're like, what, you live alone? I was like, nah, my family lives here, but no one called Jason. And the second police officer stepped forward and she was like, hey, how long have you been living here? I was like, oh, we moved in here in May last year. So probably, 8 months or so. And she was like, oh, you know what? It was probably an old resident. I'm really sorry to have woken you. You have a good night. And they jumped back in the car and they left. And I was like, you know what? Like, and I'll be the first to admit, I've had some negative experiences with the police. Nothing like, it's not like I've been caught doing crimes and arrested. I've just caught, that police officer in a bad mood while he's doing the RBT. And he's rude and he's aggressive, and I've had a couple of other like incidental run-ins where I've been mistaken for someone else, and been detained and everything like that. But that was a positive experience, and I wanted to share that with you guys because you know what, we don't get enough of these positive experiences shared in the community. The police are out there doing the right thing. And these guys are working the graveyard shift. It's after midnight. They're out driving around looking for someone who probably has a warrant for his arrest. Which would honestly be the only reason that I could think that they'd be searching for someone after midnight. Is chances are that he's been identified fleeing a crime and this was his last known address. And you know what? They were polite. They were friendly. They actually took me on my word. They didn't even ask my ID, which is kind of lucky because I left my ID inside. But, I don't want you guys to be hitting this like, oh, white privilege just because you're white, like they believe. Nah, that's crap. That's absolute trash. I'm still waiting on all that white privilege to come to me with the police because I've had more negative experiences than positive ones. But I'm a firm believer that the police are out there doing the right thing. My grandfather was a police officer, and he did the right thing till the day he retired. It's just one of those terrible stereotypes that we push. Police officers are always negative. It's not the case. So I really wanted to just encourage you guys with that. There are positive police experiences that happen, and they just need to get shared more. So I want to challenge you guys. If you guys have a positive police experience, why don't you make a video about it and actually share it out there? Why don't we start a bit of a positive movement that shows that we actually back our law enforcement? Because man, if here on the Gold Coast, if they did crap like they were doing out in Minnesota, where they're trying to disband and drop the funding for police, it's like, oh man, Mad Max would be coming in 2021. You better believe it. That would be happening on the Gold Coast. That's where it would be starting. All right, I'm gonna get to bed, but it was awesome talking to you guys. It's always a blessing. And yeah, just remember, law enforcement are there for a reason. Occasionally you will get a bad egg, but it doesn't mean the entire batch is broken. God bless, guys. You have a great night.